Hey, good morning. It's Randytbird out here in Arizona. Hot, humid morning on a Saturday morning. It is the 30th of July. Can you believe it already? Nice Corvette. A lot of people don't like those C8 Corvettes, but I think they're very cool. Never will be able to afford one, but they're very cool. Saw a used one at the car dealer when I was getting my oil change, my service done on my car. I used one for $104,000. I'm like, holy crap, that's expensive. I'd like to be that rich. I keep playing lottery tickets. We'll see what happens. Very warm and sweaty morning. I was up at about 6 and it felt pretty good. By the time I got situated, now it's 8:30. Already getting warm. But it's only supposed to be 100 today, and it won't be that till afternoon, so morning's time to get out. Hope you all had a good week and everything is working out good for you. I'm just happy to be able to get out on the bike. Something new, I don't know if you can hear it in the video, but I got my Vance & Hines Eliminator 300s on. And it's nice to be able to hear the bike at above 30 miles an hour. Very cool indeed. So, putting them on the other night though, man, it was so humid. When I was just sweating like crazy in my garage. I had the doors open, had fans going, but it's still just miserable humid. We've had a little bit of rain this week around the valley, different parts of the valley. Not too much in my house, but we did get a decent soaking the other night, and it allowed us to green up the grass a little bit. You know, it's something about natural water versus city water really makes the grass grow, which only means I'll be cutting it again probably next week, so after just doing it last week. Anyway, Flinch, if you're watching the video, I like what you're doing with your Dyna. Looks good, man. Looks good, man. And it looks like you're enjoying your summer riding season, because you do get some crappy weather back there in Ohio. It's cool. If y'all don't know, Flinch, I believe, was my very first subscriber when I started up my channel. So I always remember him. I used to talk to him when he was a column writer for the old Iron Horse magazine back in the day, and that was a good magazine. I do kind of miss that. I saw the other day that Easy Riders magazine has been publishing again. I don't think I've picked up an Easy Riders for 20 years. They had turned into something that I didn't care for, a real slick publication that catered to the celebrities and the builders of unattainable, maybe even unusable motorcycles. I did like it back in the old days when it was all about the scooter tramp and taking care of themselves, and just, it was a good magazine. It was printed on high rag paper that looked almost like a shopping bag in the early days, but you know, the grocery bag, if anybody remembers paper grocery bags. But yeah, that was a good magazine back then. I really look forward to getting it. I miss magazines in general. I used to be a big follower of Cycle World magazine, Cycle, in the old days. I love reading the columns, and it was always enjoyable to get that in the mail, in the subscription. And then Cycle World went to some sort of quarterly thing, and then it's now mostly online. You know, I just the feel of having a magazine in your hand, to me, is better. I mean, I don't mind. You get a lot online, you get the interactive and everything, but a good writer will do that for you. He'll describe things in a manner that makes you feel it and see it. And Flinch was one of those kind of writers. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed his columns in that magazine. He wasn't with Easy Riders. He was with Iron Horse. But again, back to Easy Riders. I don't know what they're doing. I haven't picked up any. Maybe I'll sneak a glance at one if I see it in a shop and see if it's anything close to the old days. But anyway, like I say, I do miss magazines. I used to be a fanatic about it before the days of the internet became real usable like it is now. Used to go to the newsstands. That's another thing you don't see anymore, is newsstands, and pick up magazines from all over the world. I used to get the English magazines, Australian magazines, and even picked up a couple of German magazines. Although I couldn't understand a thing that was written in there, I did like looking at the pictures, and if something jumped out at me where I think I needed to learn a word, I'd get a dictionary and look it up. And but again, these days online you can do just about anything. Like say you expand on the pictures and whatever, but I don't know, just miss the feel of a magazine. Same thing with newspapers. You don't hardly ever see newspapers anymore. I used to faithfully read the USA Today and follow the baseball scores and things like that, and yeah, I've just kind of lost touch with that, not getting the mag. Plus, last time I looked, it was like $1.50, $2 a newspaper. I mean, you know, I had a paper route as a boy, and I remember collecting 15 cents a week for the whole week of newspapers from those guys. If any of you are old enough to have a paper route when you were a kid, that's probably brings back some memories. Getting up at 4 in the morning and getting your papers and putting them on your bicycle and pedaling them around. I had the largest paper route in West Phoenix back in the late 60s or mid 60s when I was a kid. And on Sundays you had what they called inserts, and inserts were ad sections. You had those Wednesday too, that put in there, and then they had extra articles and like what they called the Sunday magazine that were there, and you had 2 giant stacks of papers waiting for you when you went to your place to pick up the papers, which was usually at a Circle K or some other business that was open, or some other place that would allow the Gannett Publishing to drop off their wares. And but yeah, on Sundays it would take me an extra hour because I had to make 2 trips because the papers were so thick I couldn't get them all on the bike. And one of the funny things that happened back then is I had too light a duty of a bike to really be running a heavy load of papers on it, and I'd be going down the street and I'd hear this plink or plink, weird sounds like that. It was spokes breaking. And my dad, to his consternation, at least once a month, had to drag me down to a place it was a Schwinn dealer called Happiness House. It was just a little corner bicycle shop, and they'd redo my wheels, and they'd fix the spokes and retrue the wheels and all that stuff. And one day I had too much paper on there, and I hit a bad bump and it collapsed the whole front wheel, went over the bars. That wasn't good. Well, I had to buy a new wheel, kept breaking spokes, and long and short of it, the guy at the bicycle shop looked at me, he says, "What are you hauling on this bicycle? It's causing you to break spokes all the time. Are you jumping off of curbs or jumping the bike?" I said, "No, I'm just delivering my papers." Well, he re-spoked the wheel, a custom job. He used moped spokes that were a much heavier gauge than anything you could get on a bicycle, and never broke a wheel again. But just something, I don't know even where that came from, but just a memory that I had from back in the day. And I was making about $30 a month doing that, which was not bad money for a kid in the old days. And I spent most of it on model car kits and model military models, which I liked, and did that, and the occasional quart bottle of soda. That's another nostalgic thing. You don't see quarts in soda anymore. It's all liters. A quart bottle of soda and a big bag of M&Ms, and I was happy to do that. One of the other things you used to see back then you don't see now is that early in the morning you would see milk trucks delivering milk to people's houses, and the Hostess bakery trucks would always be out, and the milk trucks would always sell us paper boys and us other early risers would sell us a pint of chocolate milk or whatever you wanted, and the Hostess guys would usually just if we ran into them, they would just toss us a package of Twinkies or cupcakes or whatever, and they were like kindred spirits out there in the early morning. You know, it's just, I almost can't imagine that happening these days. It was a lot of fun back then. I made enough money off of paper route and cutting lawns for people that I was able to buy my own lawnmower and another bicycle, which is a little 5-speed bicycle that I bought from Montgomery Ward's, if you remember them. And so I had my work bike and my pleasure bike. It was like I was quite the 12-year-old tycoon back in those days. Wasn't much longer than that I started working for a paycheck, 14, 15 years old, and I got my first car, and of course, you know, buying old cars like we did back then, they definitely needed some work. So I had bought a 58 Chevrolet Biscayne 4-door sedan, and it was my uncle's car. My uncle beat cars to death. I mean, he drove hard and fast, and went off-road in them to go fishing and things. And there wasn't many paved roads to lakes back in the 60s in here in Arizona, and so he'd beat cars up. So I think I paid $80 for that car, and immediately had to put more money in it to make it right. But it was a labor of love, and I was working, so I could afford to go to the scrap yard and buy a $6 starter or something like that, or go to the used battery place and get a used battery for $8. You know, last time I bought a car battery was like $180. It's like, holy crap. I'm not even going to talk about Harley batteries. Anyway, this is Randytbird, just out for a ride, kind of reminiscing this morning. I'm not sure why I got into that frame of mind, but there I was. But hey, thank you for the new subscribers that have subscribed, and my continuing subscribers, and love the comments I'm getting from folks. And hey, you know, subscribe if you haven't. It's easy. It's just click on my image icon on the screen there, and if you like, you can hit the notification bell, and don't forget to like my videos. I appreciate that. This is Randytbird out here in Arizona, just out for a ride on a late July morning. We'll talk to you soon.